This conference will now be recorded.
In last meeting, we discussed about methods, right? In the data source level methods. Up to we discussed about active method. Okay, in the same way, we have few more methods are there in the data source level. Coming to the override, there is a method called create. This method works like init value. How exactly the init value is working? In the same way, this create method is also works like when we are creating a new record. When we are creating a new record, in the init value method, we have assigned some values to the record by default. Like when I'm creating a record by default, today date has to fill in the date of birth column, and the contract value has to fill in the EMP type, employee type. So these default values we are automatically populating in the date of birth and employee type. This one we have written in init value. This is also works like init value, like a create method. This method works when we are creating a new record. In this particular create method, we can also create like a number sequence concept. While we are creating a new record, automatically number sequence will generate. That kind of business logic we need to write. But finally, we need to call the whole business logic in create method to implement number sequence concept. Currently, we have 4 records. So the next record would be 5th record, right? 105, something like it. So that number has to generate automatically. For that purpose, we need to write a business logic. There is a business logic, and then finally we need to call that business logic in the create method itself, because when we are creating a new record, create method will call that business logic. We will write in future. That business logic finally I will call in the create method itself. But meanwhile, just remember, when create method is calling, when it is executing, when we are creating a new record, this method will execute. Okay, remember, meanwhile, in future we will write some business logic in the create method itself. And also I'll tell you uh, 2 best examples for init method and init value in the next session itself. How exactly the init value and init method will works, I'll show you in the next meeting itself. One example. Now the next method I'm going to overriding here, there is a method called write method. Write method, and previously we have taken validate write method. Validate write method and write method will call at the same point of time. Basically, validate write method will call when we are trying to save the record, right? Either it is an existing record or it is a new record. Suppose in existing record I have modified something. Okay, when I'm going for save button, automatically validate write method will call. In second case, suppose I have created a new record. When I'm trying to save the record, at that time also validate write method will call. This write method also works like validate write method. Both methods, write method and validate write method, will call at the same point of time. But in validate write method, we can implement the business logic like validations. Like the return type is boolean, but this validate write method return type is boolean, but write method return type is void. In this method, we cannot write any kind of validations. If we have any other than validation, that kind of business logic we can write in this write method. So coming to the example, let me open the form, EMP table form. Okay, now if you see here, we are discussing about validate write and write method, right? Now for example, I have created a record and I will enter all the values here, and if all the values are correct, okay, I will definitely click on save button. This record will save in this table, and also as well as I need to copy this record in another table at the same time. When I click on the save button directly, anyway this record will save in this table, in this EMP table. This record has to copy in another table. For example, we have something like EMP table copy. There is a table called EMP table copy. I just want to copy the same record in this table. When it has to happen, when I click on the save button. Suppose if I'm looking for a validation, then go for validate write method. But what I'm trying to do here, if the record successfully saved, this record I need to copy into the some another table. That is what my requirement. So this requirement doesn't comes under validation. Just we are capturing all the fields information and we are transferring or we are copying to the another table. This is not a validation, right? So this kind of requirements we can able to write in write method, because there is no validation kind of business logic is there. The return type is wide. So we need to implement this kind of business logic in write method.
So Arjun,
Just guys,
so
just a
so for example, we have a lookup here for search name or something. When we click on the lookup, automatically other fields will be populated, right? So that kind of logic will be writing with write method, right? Or you get my question? Hello?
just a second, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah, tell me, Harsha, tell me.
So no. Generally, we put lookups for a field, right? When we put a lookup and we select something, we get some other fields in lookup, right? So that
Value.
fields will be populated in
Yeah.
other fields. That is what we are doing in a write method, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
This is your question?
Yeah.
No. Actually, what I'm trying to say. Okay, first, please understand write method functionality and validate write method functionality. Then you will get a clarification that between difference. See,
Yeah.
first we'll discuss about the validate write. Validate write method will works if we want to do any validation on the record.
Yeah.
When it will happen? When I'm trying to save the record.
Yeah.
Okay. When I'm trying to save the record, suppose I have created a record. Step 1. Step 1. Step 2, I entered all the values. I go for save. Step enter 3. This validation will happen.
Your
If
voice
fiction
is
will
breaking.
occur.
Arjun.
I mean, when you written some piece of code in validate rate method.
Okay.
Now it is clear.
Yeah, it is clear, but your voice is breaking.
Harsha.
Yeah. I can hear you, but your
Okay,
voice is
maybe the
breaking.
signal issue.
Hmm.
Guys, for other people also same. Sanjay, Jitendra.
It's clear now, but
Mohammed, my voice is
Definitely.
clear.
It's clear now, yes.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Functionality of telling you the
No,
difference first.
Arjun, again it's
I
breaking.
mean, I will tell you the right here method. Valid.
It's breaking, Arjun.
breaking again.
Guys.
This conference will now be recorded.
So right now, I just want to explain validate right method. Validate right method will works for validations. I mean, we will use it for validations. I will create a record and I will enter the values. If any value is incorrect as per the business logic, as per the client requirement, we will do some validations when we are clicking on the save button. So especially validate rate method will works for only validation purpose. But there is a method called write. This method also works when we are trying to save the record. When we are trying to save the record, two methods will call. One is validate write method and write method. Validate write method we will use for validations, but write method we will not use for validations, because if you see the syntax, public void, the return type is void. If it is a boolean, we can go for a validation, but it is the return type is void. I cannot write any kind of validation here. This business logic I cannot write here. For example, let me copy this code and I cannot write here, because finally we need to write return false, because we should not save the record, right? If the validation, if the value is incorrect, we should stop the record from saving. So that is the reason I cannot write this kind of business logic. So what kind of business logic we will write normally other than validations? Other than validation means I'm telling you one best example. After saving the record gets saved here. This same record I need to copy in some another table. For example, I'll tell you something. Here we have three employee types: contract, temporary, permanent. Let us assume that we have three tables again. Apart from this, we have three tables: contract table, temporary table, permanent table. If I save this record with contract, so this record has to copy into the contract table, so that I can open that table and I can see all my details, like whoever contract employees. Suppose if I saved this record with the temporary, this record has to go and save into the temporary table. I mean, this has to happen when I save the record. I don't want to copy this record manually after some point of time. You got my point? If anyone doesn't understand, just tell me. I'll tell you here. Guys, please respond.
So for example, it is used, yeah, it is not used for validations, but it is used for saving the data in a specific tables or something, right?
No, just I'm telling you one example.
Yeah.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever the business logic I'm telling you, that only we will not write. Okay, just I'm telling you one example. That's it. Other than validation, it is this business requirement comes under other than validation.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, let us assume that I have 3 tables. Apart from this, I have 3 tables. Assume that contract table, temporary table, permanent table. Here, I will select contract and I will save the record, the new record. So this record has to copy into the contract table. Suppose if I saved with temporary, this record has to save into the temporary table. Suppose if I select permanent, this record has to copy into the permanent table. Understood? This should happen when I save the record. When I save the record, we have a write method. In that write method, I will write the business logic.
Arjuna, that means we are here assuming that we are having 3 different tables. One is for temporary, one is for permanent, one is for contract. And these are 3
Yes.
master tables. These are 3 master tables.
Yes.
The
Yes.
record will be copied from this source to the tables, right?
Yes. Source to that particular 3 tables.
Right.
If it is contract table, the record has to copy into the contract table in the source
Yes,
table.
yeah. Arjun, actually, this is very important for us to know that which method to write means which piece of code needs to be write at which particular method. The way you have mentioned that you are writing here on the right method. So
Right
this is
method.
very important
Exactly.
for us to know.
Exactly.
Actually, this seems quite
For example,
confusing. Sometimes, yeah.
okay, for
Okay.
example, okay, I'll tell you the same business logic here for today. You just understand. For example, here we have a contract table, but we don't have a contract table. Just I'm telling you, okay, you need to create contract table, contract table, temporary table. Okay, suppose I have 3 tables. Let us assume that. Now when I save the record, I mean, why I'm writing after super? If successfully record has been saved in the main table, source table, then only I need to copy the data, right? If the record not saved in the main table, how can I copy the data? That is the reason I'm writing after super. Here I will write while select. No need to write while select. Okay, select. Okay, we are at the same table, right? So no need to write a select statement even. Already. Okay. And also emp table copy. Meanwhile, I will transfer to emp copy. Okay, now already we have written this kind of business logic in DML codes here. This one. Copy the data and I'm pasting here. Instead of EMP LOC, we need to write EMP table directly, because we are at the same table. I mean, we are writing in the same data source level itself. So EMP copy dot insert here. What I will write in the place of here, I will write if EMP table dot EMP type equal to EMP type : contract. If it is a contract, we need to insert the record into the here. What we need to write? Contract here. Contract LOC dot EMP ID, contract LOC dot name, contract LOC dot age, finally contract LOC dot insert. Understood? Again, we need to write one more if condition for temporary. Here which this one, temp EMP LOC dot temp EMP LOC dot EMP ID, temp EMP LOC dot name, finally temp EMP LOC dot insert. Again, I will write one more if condition. This is for permanent. So here this one, this buffer perm, okay, EMP table, perm EMP table dot EMP ID, perm EMP table dot name, finally perm EMP table dot insert. So we need to write 3 if conditions to copy the data into the respective tables based on employee type. Any clarification required here? Meanwhile, we will transfer the data.
Here, same info, this copy statement, you can also write in validate write method, right? We can write,
Validate.
isn't it?
Come
Hello?
again, please.
I'm saying the same copy statement we can also write in validate write method.
No.
Return true.
Yeah, no, that's what. Finally, we have to write return false or return true. In this statement, how we will write return false or return true?
No, not here. I'm saying in validate write.
In validate write also, suppose if you return this business logic, this piece of code, finally, system will ask, you need to return some value. You need to write return true.
Yeah, return true without validation.
Because see, Sanjay, here what I'm saying, this business logic, of course, if maybe it will work in validate write, but validate write especially we will use for validations, because all the people, your developers in your team, everyone will write the validations in validate write. Suppose if you are implement this kind of business logic, maybe it leads to the best practice. We are bypassing the best practices here. So, of course, you will write return true finally. I understood. After insert statement, you will write return true. But what I'm saying here, we are not doing any validation. Simply, we are copying the data from this table to another table. In this case, where is the validation? I'm asking. Why we need to write for invalidate write method? Of course, suppose in India, we have to travel on left side only, but there is a rule, right? So there is a rule, we need to follow the rules here. If we are bypassing the rules, nothing is there here. In this case, if there is a validation, definitely you can go for validate right and write the code, but here I don't think there is a validation, so better to write in the Right method.
In case if we have both methods in a class, so which one will that be
Okay,
first?
I'll tell you why we should not write in validate right method. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. For example, someone has written a code for validation for years. Okay, here someone has written a validation for years, and you are thinking, okay, after this statement, I will write my insertion process. Just assume it. Someone has written this code, and you just came and you are writing one piece of code for copying record from EMP table to EMP table copy. Then system will validate this value. After that, your record will get copied, definitely.
That might not be copy if this validation will fail. It returns
If
from
the
there only.
validation is fail, but we are writing after super, that's what, think about it once. That's what, if the super functionality works correctly, system will call the right method. After this validate right method, system will call the right method, this one. So record successfully saved into this table, system will call the right method. If there is any business logic is there in the right method, that will work, that will execute. So why we need to write other than validation codes in validate right method, and why we need to confuse? There are two separate methods has given for us. Sanjay, just do one thing. After this class, just try this piece of code and this piece of code and tell me what is happening. Just analyze yourself.
Okay.
Everything is a trial and error method. Suppose if you have a doubt, just write down the piece of code and try it. Then definitely you will understand.
Yep.
Arjuna, we have a super method in validate right also. So that means if you are calling our code after super in validate right, suppose I'm just believing that validate method is called to apply some validation prior saving record, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
what is the difference in validate that event? If I write some piece of code prior super and after super in validate right itself. I'm not asking about this right method. Can you please bring your cursor to that validate right method?
validate right method below super, after super, you are asking.
No. Yeah. I'm asking that in validate right method, we can see here that it is mentioned that RET equal to super, right? So
Mm.
what will happen if I call this a piece of code? If employee age is less than 20, this piece of code prior the super method or after the super method, what is the difference here in validate right?
Suppose if I write this piece of code above super, what will happen, right?
Right.
See, that's what I'm telling you here. Validate right method. When you click on the save button, system will call the super functionality. So that system will capture the arguments. What are all the arguments? Whatever we presented in the record, that we are calling as a argument. So system will capture your arguments and it will take into the validation part. They will check. Then if the value it is not falling in between the business logic, so definitely we are writing return false, so we are not going to save the record. When here why we are returning false, that means don't save my record. don't save. I'm saying to the system, don't save my record. But if you are writing above super, system will not consider your values, because super has to call, then only your validation will execute.
That means in validate write, we are always supposed to write our piece of code after super method is called.
Yes, exactly. After super only.
Means after when the system fires the core method of validate write.
Yes, system
After
will
that we can.
execute the, will call the kernel level code by using super. If the
All
super
right.
has called, system will call the in kernel level business logic, so that system will capture all your arguments which is there in the record, and it will consider into the validation part.
All right. So, but in validate write, when we are supposed to write the piece of code prior super.
So here above super there is no chance really. That's what I'm telling you. In some of the
Okay.
cases, some of the cases above super functionality will not be there here in our Dynamics 365. In some cases, for example, here I have a init method. In this init method, okay, I have above super functionality is there, below super functionality is there, because before form open, after form open, the functionality is there. Okay, but for example, if you take button click, after clicking only you need to execute something, right? Before clicking, what you will execute? There is a button on the form, you will click on the button. After clicking on the button, you want to execute something. Tell me one thing here, before clicking on the button, what you will execute? System will sit ideally, right? What you will execute? So in some cases above super functionality will not be there, and suppose in some cases super completely will not use. For example, there is a button control clicked method is there, button control clicked method. In this clicked method, you can comment super even if you want, because super will not work, super functionality will not work. So there are three cases. In few methods, above super functionality is there, below super functionality is there. In some cases, below super functionality is there. In some cases, super functionality is not there completely. We can comment even if you want super.
Okay.
So here also in validate write method, before what exactly you want to execute? You just created a record. See here, you just created a new record here, okay? And you will enter the values. When you click on the save button, super will call. Before super, what you want to execute? That is really something like unanswerable question. Only after super is there, validate write. Before super, we won't execute anything. We don't really require. Right. Okay. I'll do one thing. Here, I'm just copying data into the I'm just copying data into the EMP table, EMP copy insert. Okay. And let me open the copy table, whether there is any data or not in the copy table. We'll see. Okay, we don't have a records. See, okay, we don't have a records in the copy table. I will do one thing. First, let me build the project. Synchronization is not required. Let me build the project. Okay, let me execute. నాన్న క్లాస్లో ఉన్నాను, మళ్ళీ చేస్తాను, 10 నిమిషాలు అయిపోతాయి. Okay, I will create a new record in the EMP table and I will save the record. Okay, we'll see whether the record is copying into the copy table or not. Okay, I'm creating a new record, E105. Okay, Kumar 27. There is a contract. Okay, we left any fields. Okay, now save the record. Yes, I have saved the record. Okay, let's go to the copy table. Right, 105 record.
So Arjun, here, if both methods are there in a class, in that case, validate write will execute first.
Validate write method
Will execute first.
will execute first, definitely. Yes. Suppose if we are presenting any wrong value. Okay, let's create one more record. Okay, let's create one more record here with the wrong value. E106. Okay, I'm giving 15. Okay, one second. Have we?
Just
Okay,
comment.
the code is enabled, right? No, enabled. Okay, try to save the record. It is giving error, right? It is giving error. Okay, let's open the copy table again. Where is the record? 106 record. 106 record not copied. You can check.
It data from there. Validate write.
Yes, we are throwing error here. If validate write method executed successfully, if we are getting return true from validate write method, then system will call the write method. Understand the link. If we are getting return true from validate write method, then immediately system will call the write method super functionality. Then whatever the code you have written inside the write method, that will execute. But here we are returning false. So that is the reason system unable to call the write method. That is the reason our record is not inserting. I think concept is clear.
Yep.
Okay. The same thing works for validate delete and delete method. Here also we have there is a method called delete. Suppose here I'm trying to deleting a record. For example, I will try to delete this record, but this record I have to save somewhere else. I need to delete the record. That is the business logic. Okay, I will do one thing. I will delete this 105 record. Okay, right now we don't have any records in the copy table. This one also I'm deleting. Okay, right now understand the business scenario. I will try to delete. I'm trying to deleting 105 record. In this case, what I'm expecting, first I will copy the data in some X table and then I will delete here, so that I'm taking backup. For example, you are formatting your machine system. What you will do? You will take all your files, everything into the pen drive or a hard drive, and you will format it, right? Same thing, I want to do it here. Before deleting the record, I need to copy the record in somewhere else and I will delete the record, so that I will have a backup of my record. In this case, I will write in delete method. In delete method, the same piece of code, I will write above super this time. Why above super? First, my record has to copy into the copy table. Then system has to delete the record. That is the reason I'm writing above super this time. If you are writing below super, system will insert empty record in the copy table. If you want to insert the current record, whatever that record you want to delete, so you need to write above super in delete method, so that first your record will get inserted into the copy table, and anyway system will call the super functionality and then the record will be deleted. Okay, let's try this one also.
So, Arjun, is there any method that will directly copy or delete the record? Because let's say if we have 50 columns in a table, in that case, have to write all 50 tables, or sorry, 50 columns. That will be lengthy.
Here you are asking?
Yeah, yeah. Instead of writing each and
Suppose,
every column one by one, is there any
yes.
method that will directly copy?
No. No, we don't have.
But
We
in
need to
actual
write field by field, definitely.
real scenario, we have seen there are
Of course,
hundreds of columns filled, and
definitely,
in that case,
Sanjay.
if we have to
You
copy,
no, we need to write it. We need to write the same 50 columns, 100 columns, whatever it is.
wow.
In DML operations, already I told you how to insert a record, from one table to another table. The same thing I have told you in record set operations.
Mhm.
Even in record set operations also, bulk operations. I mean, bulk records, how to transfer or how to copy from one table to another table. But this is only the procedure. We don't have any other alternative methodology to copy data, the whole data, like 50 columns or 100 columns. Because one table to another table, from X table to Y table, we need to copy the data. Then in X table, few columns will be there. In Y table, few columns will be there. For example, in X table, the name column is there, name field. But in Y table, EMP name. So we need to match those columns, right? So we need to write especially. That's what. In X table, the column name is name. In Y table, the column name is EMP name. So that we need to write here X table dot name equal to Y table dot EMP name. But here data types should be matched. Names has to write, I mean field names has to write, but data types should be matched. That is important thing here. But we don't have an alternate methodology, whatever you're asking for that. Okay, now I will try to delete 105 record, and let me do one thing. Okay, I will delete the record. Let me check. See here, 105 record. Get copied into the copy table. Right? This is about write method and delete method. Validate write method. Validate delete method. There is a slight difference